Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Hayimi, Maseches KEREISOS Daf Yud Aleph. We begin at the Mishnah on Yud Beis, so it's around 6 lines from the bottom. One of the types of arayos is called shivcha charufa. So she's a goyish maidservant owned by a Yiddish owner, and she's charufa, which will be discussed in the Gemara. Now, if a fellow goes ahead and interacts with her improperly, he owes an asham, a special korban, whereas she gets a totally different punishment. She gets malchus, which is very unique to this specific circumstance, because typically the man and the woman who interact improperly in all kinds of arayos circumstances, they're liable to the same thing, the same type of punishment. But here we have that distinction between the man and the woman, among several other distinctions listed in the Mishnah. It says the Mishnah, Ma bein. So what are the differences between a shivcha, levein, between that and all the other arayos, levein kol arayos? Shaloi shafsa lahen lo b'anish lo b'karban. Because this one is so different in terms of the punishment, if done knowingly and willingly, and also in terms of the karban, very different. As follows: Shekol ha'arayis b'chatas. Typically, with arayis, if it's b'sheikeg, there's a chatas. B'shivcha b'zachar, but the karban that comes on account of this infraction is an asham. So the man has to bring an asham, which is a male animal. Kol harayis b'nekei, but typically a chatas on account of arayis is a female animal. B'shivcha b'zachar. Here it's an asham, which is a zachar. Furthermore, kol harayis typically echad ish v'echad isha shavin b'makis. If a carbon, typically the man and the woman are of equal liability. Meaning, if it's b'mezid, there's a possibility of malchus. Otherwise, they both bring a carbon. Each one brings his own carbon, so they're pretty much on the same page. As opposed to shivcha v'shivcha lo yishva lo yish lo yisha b'makis. The man is different than the woman with respect to the fact that she gets whipped and he does not. Lo yishva isha lish likewise. She's different than him b'carbon because he brings a carbon and she doesn't. What other differences do we have? Kol arayis typically also behind esama'ara. The Torah considers an initial physical initiation, kegaymer, as a full and complete physical interaction, as opposed to a shivcha where it says shivcha zera. It has to be a type of interaction which is full and complete, which can generate progeny. One more difference is regarding other arayos. Every interaction triggers its own liability, as opposed to shivcha. There could be many come under the same carbon. Zu chaymer. So we have a huge difference between a shivcha and other arayos. Another point, that in contrast to other arayos, where a carbon only comes if it's done b'shoyig, as opposed to the carbon the man brings by the shivcha charufa, which even addresses a mezid situation. So we find several differences between shivcha charufa and other arayos. Now, how do we define a shivcha charufa? What exactly is she? What status does she have? Ezo is shivcha. Answer is kol shechetzer shivcha v'chetzer baschern. She's half maidservant, half free. So she was owned by two partners. One of them freed her. So she's partially a maidservant, partially not. She never have a half day, as the pasuk describes her. She's been freed, loy nifdasa, but not yet redeemed. So she's part in, part out. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Some say it's Rabbi Kiva, actually. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Zuhi Shivcha Badois. Actually, she's a full-fledged maidservant, never freed at all. Rabbi Yaakov Omer, he holds like the first opinion. Half slave, half freed. Kol arayis mefarashes. Typically, the arayis in the Torah are free women. V'shir. So the shivcha was sort of left behind, left aside from the other ones, because it has its own class, status of its own. A new type of breed. Only plausible slot that we want to fill is the half and half. So evidently she's the one that's half and half. Okay, first things first. Let's go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. Menolan di loki v'leloki. So you say that she gets malchus but not him. How is that? Tanar Rabbanan b'Braisa bikaris tiya. Bikaris means malchus. Malamet she loika. She gets the malchus. Tihiya she. Yochel shnein loikin, perhaps both. Tamalamet tihiya, which is female oriented. He loika. When he loika, she gets it but not him. U'minayin da'hadein bikaris. How do you know that the word bikaris refers to malchus? Listen to malchus. Because she's going to experience something which is associated with reading verses, which is malchus. That's accompanied by the reading of the script. Kedesanya of and a brisa describing the malchus process. So you have 3 days. God la dayanin makri. So the senior judge, he calls out. So he reads the psukim, discussing Maseches Makris, that speak about the warnings of and consequences of violating the words of Hashem, of the Torah. So that's the job of the senior dayan. Sheni, the next dayan in line, Moina, he'll count out as they're applying the malchus. 1 and 2, he counts it. Ushlishi Omer ha-keyu, the third dayan, he instructs the whipper. Go ahead, whip, whip, whip. Ravashi Omer. How do we know that bikaris relates to malchus? So the first pshat was bikaris is like an acronym. It should be with the verses which associate with the malchus. Ravashi has a different pshat. Bikaritiyah. Shall we put through an inspection, a pre-malchus inspection, to determine her level of tolerance, how much malchus she can tolerate? It's not as we have in a Mishnah that they make an appraisal prior to applying the malchus. When they appraise him, they only end up with a number which can be split into 3. Why divide into 3? Because it has to be configured that way. That's the way they give the malchus. Whatever the number is, we divide into 3. Let's say it's 21. So it's 3 times 7. So on his back, they do 7 on one side, 7 on the other, and 7 in the front. So clearly there's an appraisal process. An appraisal will be applied to her because she gets her malchus. Okay, so we know the Isha gets malchus and not the man. But his punishment is dependent upon her getting malchus. She has to be an adult. She has to be susceptible to malchus. And in that case, likewise, he's punished with his carbon. But otherwise, if she's exempt, so is he. Like when she gets her malchus, for instance, she's an adult and accountable for her actions, so ish maybe carbon. Likewise, he'll bring the carbon asham. Ein ish, like when she doesn't get her malchus, let's say she's a minor, underage. Ein ish, likewise, the man will not bring maybe his carbon. How do we know that he's linked with her faith? No one. Amar Rabba d'chsiv. So the man got involved with the shivcha charufa. We're going to learn soon that she was designated to somebody. The maidservant is typically designated to a slave, whether we're talking about a Jewish slave or a non-Jewish slave, we can see in the Gemara. So she's designated to somebody, and comes the stranger and gets involved with her. She wasn't fully redeemed. Okay. Now, at this point, we're speaking about the man, right? He got involved with her. Look, the pasuk is relating to the man's side of the story. So right away it should go on to describe his consequence, his carbon. It should be followed immediately with the words "Behavi as Hashem el Hashem." And only later it should shift back to the Isha. Lichtav should say because she gets her malchus. Why do we make this quick shift between the man and the woman? Why do we go straight into the woman's side of things? And only later it'll basave kasav, then it goes back to the man and his carbon behavi as Hashem el Hashem, to tell you it is connected, interdependent. The pasuk means if in fact she will be deserving of malchus, so if she's qualified for malchus, likewise he's qualified for a carbon behavi as Hashem el Hashem. But if she doesn't get her malchus, lo yavihu as Hashem, and neither will he bring his carbon. Okay, says the Gemara. So we know that Malchus is only for the Isha. We had a mute, right? Because here only her. But he brings the carbon. Maybe she also brings a carbon. Ema, perhaps we can propose. Who ma'atekro? The Torah exempted him from the Malchus, as we discussed. Aval but maybe on her side, she's liable to both. Tilke, v'taisi carbon. Get Malchus on a carbon. Answer is, Vehevi Hashem al Hashem ksiv. Vehevi, only he's to bring. She's not owing a carbon. Amr Yitzchak. Lo'ilam enachayiv al shivcha b'ula b'lvad. This shivcha, there's another precondition. She has to have been involved with a man prior to this person. She underwent a change. What do we find that term nechrefes denotes a physical change? Rifais are these crushed kernels of wheat. So we see harifais and charfa, he and ches, of course, are interchangeable, coming from the same location in the throat. So charufa means she had been physically transformed by being involved with a man before our perpetrator. By saying another source for the same point, even if you crush this foolish man in a mortar, together with the other, kernels that are being crushed, harifais, with Eli with the pestle, don't think it will be an easy sell to change his attitude. He has to have a lot of musar. It doesn't come so easy. So in any case, we see harifais refers to crushed kernels. We have another pasuk by Ezra when Klal Yisrael came back from Bavli and they were involved with foreign women. So they were given musar, they were chastised by Ezra to let go of their non-Jewish women. And the Gemara will tell us they were involved in shivchas charufas. So they released these women and they had to bring an asham. Why an asham? Charufas bald, they were involved in shivchas charufas, which generates an asham. So what exactly is this shivcha charufa? We have three opinions. Tanarabban. V'afdei, she's been redeemed, been released, been freed from bondage. Yachal kula, perhaps she's fully released. Tamalei mar loy niftasa, she hasn't yet been redeemed. Yachal niftasa, perhaps she's totally enslaved. Tamalei v'afdei, she was partially freed. So it's somewhere in the middle. Okay, so how exactly do you work this out? She's somewhere in the middle. Peduya, ve'ena peduya. Partially freed and partially not. Chetzia, shifcha, partially still in bondage, half freed. So that's one condition. She's been betrothed by an Evet Ivri. A Jewish slave is allowed to get involved with a shifcha while he's a slave. So that sums up her circumstance. Half slave and assigned to an Evet Ivri. He says, no, she's fully a maidservant. And assigned to an Evet Ivri. So there's one change according to this shita, that she's not half freed. She's a full shivcha mekain matamolem avavta niftasa. How does he learn the pasuk, which denotes partial redemption? It's just a mode of expression. Redeem? No, not redeem. Dibra Torah, something the Torah speaks. Kalosha b'nei adam, the way people speak. Meaning, of course, it means she's totally unredeemed, unfreed. Rabbi Lazar he goes like the Tanakh to a certain extent. He says she's half in, half out. Kol arayis mefurashes lanu. So typically the other arayis are standard, freed women, meaning not slaves. Mishur lanu, what's still outstanding? What circumstance haven't yet addressed? This unique half in, half out circumstance. Chatzia, shivcha, chatzia baschern, u'meres levet ivri. We have another shita as well. Lo yumsu ki lo yichu pasha. So there's no misa for this interaction because the fact is she still has, slave identity. Oh, so this shita holds that she's fully enslaved and she's assigned for an Evet Kanani, non-Jewish slave. So bottom line, we have three shitas. Either she is partially freed, designated to an Evet Ivri. She's fully enslaved, designated to an Evet Ivri, or designated to Evet Kanani. Now we have Rabbi Shmuel who says she's a full shivcha. But we're speaking that she was assigned for an Evet Ivri. How does he know? That second part. A little bit Shmuel. Yishleim, I understand that the phrase V'hafte l'neftasa, Hiktani, as the Rice explained, simply is a mode of expression. Dibra Torah l'shmini Adam, but really she's fully enslaved. Look, the Tani, but what about the next element? The assignment at Evet Ivri. Where do we find that? Hinted to in the pasuk. The answer is Achsiv Kiluchu Pasha. She has not yet been released. Apparently, the man that she's assigned to was released. Mechlal Dehu Chu Pash, meaning he's a free man. She's not Evet Kanani. So the only option we have is an Evet Ivri who is allowed to be involved with a shifcha. Now, Reb Lezer ben Azariah seemed to present another opinion, but really he's just echoing the opinion of Tanna Kama. Tanna Kama says she's half-freed, and so does Reb Lezer ben Azariah. Tanna Kama spoke about her being mu'uras levet ivri, and so does he. So what's the repetition? Reb Lezer ben Azariah, Hainu, same exact opinion of Rabbi Akiva. The answer is like this. Of course, but he's just addressing Rabbi Shmuel in defense of this position. The Rabbi Shmuel comment is addressing Rabbi Shmuel, who spoke right before him. He says, look, lididi ba'alma kavasach really. Typically, I go with your approach. The Torah sometimes speaks in the colloquial. But here it's different. You can't apply that concept here. Look, we have redundancy in the pasuk to indicate that here she's half-freed. Krod already says she hasn't been freed, which sounds like she's fully enslaved. The next phrase, Lamali, what's the point? It's just an extra. She wasn't freed. Apparently it's coming to teach us that she was partially freed. Okay, the fourth sheet of Achirin, that she's fully enslaved and mu'uras to an Evet Kanani. So that expression doesn't concern them. It's just a way of a mode of expression, but of course we're talking about a fully enslaved shifcha. How do we know that we're speaking that she's designated to an Evet Kanani? Where do we find that mentioned in the pasuk? Makra, the answer is the pasuk says Kiloichu Pasha, which is redundant. It already says she hasn't been released. Kiloichu Pasha is referring to the man. It's not relative to her. We already know that she hasn't been freed. Today, applied to the man that she's involved with. So she's been assigned to a man who hasn't been released, meaning to a full-fledged Evet Kanani. That's her status, which is sort of a partial marriage. It's a designation which has some marriage element to it. And now this fellow comes along, interacts with her. That infraction generates grave consequence. Malchus on her side, and Asham on his side. Okay, so in conclusion, a fellow gets involved with the Shifcha Charufa. She gets Malchus, he gets Karban. We explained the differences between this and regular arayos. Here it has to be complete physical interaction. Here the Karban is even on a mazid. One Karban can cover many infractions. How do we describe this Shifcha Charufa? We have three opinions. Fully enslaved, engaged to an Evet Ivri, or an Evet Kanani, or partially freed and engaged to Evet Ivri. Next Mishnah, with several more distinctions between ours and the regular arayos. Kol arayos, a typical erva, echad gal v'chad katan. So if one of the parties was an adult, accountable for his actions, the other one was underage, katan pater. So the minor is pater. Echad echad yashin, one awake, one sleeping, yashin pater. The one asleep is pater. Echad shegi meiz, one shegi, one meiz, shegi b'chatas. And the one that was the meiz, he gets KEREISOS. But not by Shifcha Charufa. Ask the Gemara, really? Katan here, if you have a similar situation. A gadol and a katan. So the katan is also chayiv? How could you say that? A katan is not responsible for his actions. The mission means like this. Kol arayos. In a standard erva, if it's gadol v'echad katan, one party is a gadol, one is a katan. Katan patel, gadol chayiv. So katan, of course, is pater, gadol is chayiv. But over here, they're both exempt. Gadol ami pater. Suppose she is a katan and he's a gadol, he's also pater. Why? My taima, the makshay nadari, they're linked to each other, as we explained before. So if she's exempt, he's exempt. And that sets it aside from other arayas. Kol arayas echad ner echad yashin, yashin pater. Typically, one awake, one asleep. The one asleep is pater. Does that imply that here, the one asleep is chayiv? How could you say that? Okan yashin ami chayiv? He's not responsible. Again, the same point. The Mishnah means kol arayas in a standard situation, echad ner echad yashin, one awake, one asleep. So it's a split situation. Yashin pater ner chayiv. The one awake is chayiv. Otherwise, the other fellow is pater. But here they're linked. They come. Filu ner pater. Even the one awake is pater because if she's pater, so is he. My time, makshay nadari. They're linked to each other. We have another brisa presented. Tani, there was a chacham presented a brisa coming before the Rav Sheshes, as follows. Sounds like a cryptic riddle, which we're going to explain later. Also, goimer, the Torah considers a full physical interaction, kima'ara, like an initial physical interaction. Number 2, miskaven shei miskaven, we consider a purposeful interaction, just like an unpurposeful interaction, shei miskaven. Kedarka, interacting the standard way, kishalai kedarka, just like the unstandard way. Ner kiyashin, awake is like asleep. What's going on? Amrullah Sheshes says, my cameras, what exactly do you, what's going on? What do you mean to say? Are we talking about a regular arayas? Are we talking about a shivcha? Ibe shivcha charufa? Ketani. Is the brayso relating to shivcha charufa? How could that be? Amai asu goyme kemara. We already discussed before in the previous Mishnah. The chiv is only shivcha zera, full physical interaction. How could you consider a goymer kemara, a complete like a partial? If anything, goymer b'shivcha charufa b'chayiv, full interaction is chayiv over here. Marla mechayiv. Partial is not chayiv. V'su, next question. You say miskaven is treated kshein miskaven. What does that mean? If there was intention, fine, they're liable. If not, not. Next. Regular interaction like irregular. What does that mean? Nami. That too is difficult to understand. Because kedarka b'shilcha mechayiv. By shilcha needs to be a regular physical interaction. Otherwise you're not chayiv. My time, you know why? Shechva zera, which means a standard interaction. Next question. Umay near kiyashin. What does that mean? Awake like asleep. Sleep is not chayiv. Awake is. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be talking about shivcha charufa. Let's shift to regular arayas. So the Bryce is talking about that. Katani. Asu goyim kumara. So let's take it statement by statement. You say the Torah considers a full physical interaction like a partial. Well, the order is incorrect, seemingly incorrect. If Talmud Bavli should have said it the other way, lemisni, because the chiddush novelty is that even a partial is considered like full. Full is for sure chayiv. So the Bryce should have stated the other way. Even partial is the same. Amalei, so the Chacham says, okay, should I just delete this whole brayso? It's my. Amalei says no. We'll fix it up. We'll revise it as follows and make it work. Amalei loy hachikatani. The brayso means like this. Also goymer shaloy kedarka. So the basic principle is that unlike other arayas, or even partial interaction, even irregular, is chayiv. Not so by shivcha charufa. It has to be a regular interaction. It has to be full interaction. And therefore, we come up with this interesting equation. Also goymer shaloy kedarka. If it's irregular, even full interaction. If it's b'shivcha charufa, no liability. Lo mechayiv. Kima'ara kedarka. And it's equated to a regular interaction, but just partial. In both cases, exempt. Why? The shivcha zer ksiv. And this doesn't qualify. Next point of the brayso. Again, shivcha charufa, miskaven shalei kedarka. Let's say it was an intentional, irregular interaction. B'shivcha by the shivcha. Again, the return there, pater. Kedem miskaven. Just like it will be a regular interaction with that intention. Cases says we're talking about an oines or an accent. In both cases, they're pater. Why shalei kedarka pater? Again, for the same reason. The shivcha zer ksiv. It doesn't qualify. Shivcha zer. And finally, ner shalei kedarka b'shivcha. If it's irregular, even awake, by the shivcha they're exempt for the same reason. Pturim, kiyashin, and treated just like a person asleep, unaccountable. My time, why? Because it doesn't qualify the shivcha zer ksiv. So it turns out, this is a summary. Miskaven, v'amora b'shivcha, by shivcha, even an intentional, partial interaction, is exempt. And it's equated to another exempt situation, ke'ein miskaven chol arayis, like an unintended interaction by other arayis. It's an oinus potter. Likewise, yashin kedarka, if it's an ordinary interaction, but asleep, yashin arayis, just like any other arayis, exempt. Nimtza ne'er shalei kedarka. B'shivcha turns out that irregular, even awake by the shivcha, is exempt and treated like a yashin, like asleep, b'chol arayis. Hadran chalon, avo mechzak. Okay, Ranu Perek, Amr lo achalta chilev. So, a fellow who eats forbidden fats, by mistake, he brings a karban chatas. Pasuk says, Oy hoida lev chatasi. He has to become aware of his sin. That triggers a chiv chatas. Let's say, he doesn't come to it on his own. He was informed by others. If it's one witness, or two witnesses. Look, mister, you ate chaylev the other day. Ooh, really? Is that going to obligate him in a karban? Amrloi, achalta chaylev. Two people approach him. You ate chaylev, maybe chatas. He has to bring a chatas. So basically, he's going on their word. He's trusting them. Well, let's say it's not so simple. Eid aimer achal. Reuben comes and says, "You ate. Bring a chatas." Ve'eid aimer lo achal. Shimon contradicts him. No, you didn't eat. Or even if it's not a valid aid, a woman, you have to trust her in matters of isser. Isha aimeres achal. She says he ate. Isha aimeres, and a friend says lo achal. He didn't eat. In that case, he's in a state of uncertainty. Maybe Hashem Toli has to bring a special karban Hashem Toli to address his uncertainty. Let's say he's contradicting the witness. You ate. No, I didn't eat. But of course, in that case, he's exempt. But let's say two Eidim, imposing a chatas on him. Two fellows approach him. Two Eidim, you ate chaylev, and he says nothing doing. That's an interesting question. Can they impose it on him or not? He's not very agreeable. He's not acknowledging. Rameir Machayev. Rameir says he's chayev a karban. They have the power to impose it on him. Abra Rameir, let me explain it to you. Two Eidim, they could even kill a person by testifying that he sinned in a severe manner. If two people can bring him to a severe punishment like death, don't you think they can at least trigger a lighter punishment like a karban? Of course they could. Chacham responded, well, by the karban it's different. You're right by the misa, but here he has an easy way out. Suppose he says, look, yeah, of course I ate the chilaf. Thank you for telling me. But guess what? A karban? A karban is limited to shagig. I did it knowingly and willingly. You have no clue what's going on in my mind. So he has an easy way to get out of it. So you have to trust him. Likewise, when he says he didn't eat it, he has the element of trust on his side. Let's say two portions of chaylev in the same lapse of forgetfulness. He brings one karban chatas when he becomes aware of his. Let's say, without realizing, he ate 4 different types of isser, chaylev and blood and pigul and oiser. Each one triggers its own karban. So now you have a chumrah stringency with respect to various types of forbidden foods over one type, because if it's 2 portions of the same type, it's 1 karban, but several types, it's many karbanos. On the other hand, we have a chumrah when it's 2 portions of the same type over the many types. So the minimum portion of forbidden material, which triggers a karban, is a kazayis. Let's say you ate half that much of chaylev, and then they add another half kazayis, the same experience. What happens now? It's the same type of isser. Chaylev and chaylev is chayiv because they sort of combine. Mishnei minin pater, but if they're 2 different types, they can't join together because for a karban you have to have a full shear of any given isser, and here it's half and half. Says the Gemara, Katani Amrullah. Let's go back to the first case in the Mishnah. They told him. They sounds like plural. Was it 2 witnesses or just 1? Katani Amrullah, achalta chaylev, maybe chatas. They told him, he brings. Amru, the term Amru, how many people are there? Train, sounds like 2. Okay, let's assume. Now, what's happening on his side of the discussion? How is he responding? Is he acknowledging? Is he contradicting? Is he just remaining silent, not opposing them? And that's why he has to bring a korban, because it's a tacit acknowledgement. So let's imply from here, shtika the train or the mevichatas al shtika the chad. So only when he gives his tacit approval to 2, he'll bring a chatas. Let's say it's just 1 aid, informing him, and he remains silent. Sounds like he's accepting the fact. What? There's no chiv korban. Right? That's the inference. That's the diuk. Also, but that doesn't really fall in line with the next part of the Mishnah, where we have a slightly different case. But we can infer from there that if he acknowledges it, he remains silent, even in the face of just 1 aid, he's also chayv korban. So a fellow tells him you ate, and he says, no way. In that case, he's potter, because he said no way. It's only because he's disputing the aid's account. But if you just remain silent, and of course, I will be in response to 2 aidim. So, to learn the Mishnah the way we proposed won't really work, because what we said was 2 aidim approached, and he was silent. That's why he's chayiv. But it sounds like if it's just 1 aid, he'll be potter. But the next part of the Mishnah clearly says otherwise. If he's quiet in response to even a single aid, he's chayiv. So let's go back again. Amrullah means 2 people approached him. Fine. How's he responding? He's yelling and screaming, no way! What are you talking? I never ate the chayv. Fine. And that works because in a parallel case, if he disputes 1 aid, he's potter. That works. Mani Ramiri. So this halacha that 2 can impose a korban against his protest is Rameir speaking. Rameir the Omar Chosh Ve'trei Lavachashi, disputing testimony of 2 witnesses is not has no validity, and he's chayv korban. Aval Rabbanan potter. Because the Rabban, of course, he's potter. My Kamash wants to point to this in part of the Mishnah. We discuss this a bit further in the Mishnah. Why the repetition? Kamash on the point of the Mishnah to say this opening statement isn't universally accepted. It's really subject to dispute, as we're going to see later in the Mishnah. And again, we're talking that he is denying it, because otherwise, if he would just remain silent, all agree he's chayv korban, whether it's 2 or 1 aid. There was a different explanation on the Mishnah. Although the word amru sounds like the many, but at times it refers even to 1 person, 1 aid. This time we have an example back in Yevamah. So Isha Shalach Bal Mitzayam, Bob Amr Lameis Balach, a woman whose husband traveled to a distant land, and unfortunately she got word from 1 aid that he passed away. Vanessa, she married on account of that testimony, which she obviously did not investigate very well, which she should have. The husband shows up alive and well. She has to leave the first husband, the old husband, the second husband. The whole story back in Nivomis. The Kaimlan Filu B'chat. And the Mishnah is learned to mean even 1 aid. How do we know? Because the next part of her speaks about 2 aidim. This is Shlei B'Rishus. Let's say she did not receive authorization, permission from the Bezdin, because there were 2 aidim that told her directly, your husband passed away. We know. In that case, it's totally out of her hands. She wasn't expected to do any further research. 2 aidim, highest form of credibility. It's like an oinus, like an accident, beyond her control. In this case, we don't penalize her. Materis Lasalef, if the husband shows up, she can go back to him. My Shlei B'Rishus. What does this mean, Shlei B'Rishus? Shlei B'Rishus Bezdin. She didn't get Bezdin's permission. So in contrast to the first part of the Mishnah, where Bezdin was involved, because it was just 1 aid and they had to give her special permission, here we're talking that there are 2 aidim. So she got her heter, independent of the Bezdin. Mechlal Dereisha, B'Rishus Bezdin, Ubeid Echad. So the second part of the Mishnah speaking that she just did it on her own because of the two Eidim. But the first part of the Mishnah is talking that the Bezdin was involved. They issued her the pass because of the testimony of one Eid. So you see, the first part is talking about one Eid. Clearly, the term Amru used in part A of the Mishnah refers even to one Eidus. One Eid. Likewise, in our Mishnah where it says Amrullah, Mashma Filay Dechad, could be talking about even about one Eid. And that's what happened. It was one Eid approaching him with this information. And the question is, how is he responding? How is he responding? Is he disputing it? Why would he be bringing a carbon? Maisi? Would he bring a carbon? Look at the next part of the Mishnah. If he disputes the Eid Echad, cancels him out. Eid Echad, Eid informs him that he ate Voimer Lechal, he disputes it. Part, of course, he's part Elder Shasik. Apparently, the first part of the Mishnah is talking that one Eid approached him and he remained silent, which is a tacit acknowledgement. Why discuss it? Then halacha can be learned by looking at the next part of the Mishnah. Why the repetition? Because we learned if a person informs him and he disputes it, then he's part of time. The Kamach, that's only because he opposed his information. But if he remains silent, that's considered like Haidal, like he's acknowledging. So why the repetition? You're right, we're talking that one Eid approached him and he did not dispute it. The Mishnah means like this. Maybe Chatas. The Mishnah begins by saying if one Eid approaches him, you ate Chelev, he brings a Chatas. Fine. And then the Mishnah explains itself and elaborates. When does this apply? The Shasik, if in fact he remains silent, which is a silent acknowledgement. Then we move on to the next element in Mishnah, but if he's actually contradicting his pater. Okay, continues the Gemara. But how do we know this is so? Perhaps a person has to come to it on his own, rather than being told by others. So if he's not contradicting him, he's chayiv. Tan Rabbanon could have a brayse. That sounds like he has to come to his own realization that he sinned. V'lo, as opposed to being told from the outside, you should be informed by Achayim, by others. So according to this, it sounds like only if he himself comes to that realization. The Brisa continues. Hold it. Suppose he's informed by others, two Eidim or one Eid, and he's just remaining silent. Does that count? The extra words there tell you, even in this case, it's considered like his realization, like he came to it. He was informed, he internalized it, he agreed with it. It's like his own idea. Now, who informed him? What are we talking about? Ilim betrain, two Eidim, train Mekhishan by Ikra. The Bryce is discussing two Eidim. Why would I need a special pasuk to obligate him a carbon if he's not disputing the Eidim? I mean, two Eidim. It's highest form of credibility. When you tell it to him, it's like he knows about it. Of course he's chayiv. We turn to the next time. Apparently the Bryce is talking about being approached and informed by one Eid. Oktani, what does the Bryce say? Unless he's disputing him, we trust the Eid, and he's chayiv a carbon. So bottom line is like this. If he's an apparent agreement, he's shaysek, then he's chayiv. Whether he was told by one Eid, and certainly by two Eid. If he's given him a hard time, he's machishim. So by one Eid he's pater. By two Eidim, Ramir says chayiv, Rabbanan say pater. Now, although the pasuk seems to say he has to come to it on his own, but we learn from the extra words that even if he's informed by some sort of external element, that too suffices to obligate him a carbon. All the best to you and Hatzlachara.